Hey everyone, how are you all doing? Welcome back to Cobra Kai Theory. Today we have a very special guest, Darryl Vidal from Karate Kid 1. He's got a lot of interesting stories for us. Unfortunately, my webcam's not working. We're having some technical difficulties, but you can see the star of the show here. So, hey Darryl, how's it going, man?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being on the show.
Of
So,
course.
you were involved with the first Karate Kid, the OG, uh, so many years ago. You got a lot of interesting stories. I'd love to hear how you got the role, your interaction with the cast and crew, and you even doubled as Miyagi once. I saw
That's
in your,
correct.
your intro video. I'd love to hear all the stories.
Okay. Well, you don't want me to just start talking, do you?
Go ahead, start talking. Yeah.
No, well, you
Had
did
had
ask me.
how'd you
Go
get
ahead.
how'd you get the role? Yeah.
Okay. So I live in Southern California.
Right.
I don't know, your listener base, how broad it is, but when
Shout
you
out
live in
Cali.
Southern,
We got a lot of people from Cali here.
okay, well, I'm saying about not Cali because when you live in Southern California, everybody's somehow connected to the industry. So
Yeah.
if I met you in the street and I said, "Hey, I'm in the Karate Kid," you'd say, "Oh, I was in this commercial," or "I'm going to be in this movie," or something like that. Everybody kind of is connected.
I
So
see.
uh, it's kind of something that can happen, right?
Right.
So I training in karate since a little kid. Um, a big fan of Bruce Lee
Mm-hmm.
and kung fu movies and all that stuff. And then right around 10, 12 years old, started getting exposed to different training. My brother was taking karate, so he would teach me. And I had another family that we were connected to, Filipino family, that uh, they would do stick fighting, and so a little bit of that.
Yeah.
And so that was some of my training until about mid 70s, where I actually started taking karate classes, Kempo karate, um, and started to move up in the ranks. Did a lot of competition. So through the 70s, my instructor, Joe Rosas, who is still my instructor and still teaching, um, would take me to tournaments almost every weekend, and they
Mm-hmm.
would mostly be in LA. So, that's where I really cut my teeth on tournament circuit, tournament fighting, tournament kata.
Yeah.
And it just so happened that the director, John Avildsen, and his assistant were at this tournament scouting, and I had won the kata division. I was getting ready to get into the sparring,
Right.
and they came up to me and said, "Hey, how'd you like to be in a movie?" So
Well, that's
that's how
cool.
it happened. Yeah, it
It's just like
really
you kind of got
happens.
discovered like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And so,
So
pretty much out of the whole Karate Kid cast, you're really the only one that's like a actual master in karate and kenpo. Um,
yeah,
I'd love to hear more about your journey through that martial art.
sure.
How
Uh,
how'd you start?
Well, I kind of talked about that, just now, being a kid
Mm-hmm.
and watching Bruce Lee and stuff. So, like I said, in the mid 70s, I started training with my instructor. Got my black belt right around 18 years old, same
Yeah.
year I graduated from high school. And also wanted to cross train in a lot of stuff. But for me, I didn't start cross training until like I was a brown belt. So wrestled in high school, did a couple of years of boxing also, and then like any good Bruce Lee fan, sought out a couple of people to train in Wing Chun, which back then wasn't very common, but the people were around. I had a friend that actually traveled
Mm-hmm.
to where you're at in Canada and trained
Oh, no way.
with a Wing Chun master there. And so he came. So that's where I would get some of my Wing Chun training,
Mm-hmm.
and then a lot of stick fighting. I always, being a Filipino, I always felt it was in my blood. So anytime I would meet people, um, I would try to train with them and try to learn, pick up a little bit more of the Filipino art.
Yeah.
And so that's how it all became. I got my black belt, stayed with my instructor, taught with him for a few years, um, and then I got married and moved to where I live now, which is Murrieta, California. And that was 30 years ago, and started doing my own program here through the Parks and Rec. and have been teaching here ever since. So 30 years, and uh, just continue in our system. When you teach and train continually, that's how you get ranked.
Right.
There's a continued test. It's like you're still teaching, still training. There's all these people that are getting black belts under you.
Yeah.
So in order to kind of raise the level of everybody, and I'm the senior student of my instructor, so for him to continue to promote his students, I had to continue, and I've stayed active with them. We don't train together, but I go to all the tests. Our
Yeah.
schools are affiliated. They come to my tests and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, so 2012, I achieved Grandmaster 10th degree, and I
Right
still
on.
continue to teach and train. So,
Yeah.
you know, so that's kind of like that backstory.
And now you're training
But
Sean.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I've known Sean for a few years through Karate Kid events, and more recently, um, he mentioned that he wanted to train in a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Filipino stick fighting was something that he was interested in, but also just in general.
Right.
So he lives in Palm Springs, or down. He lives in downtown LA, but he
Yeah.
also does the Palm Springs thing. So in that whole, logistics, we're able to get together, do some training, do some Zoom classes together. Yeah.
That's cool. Is it a hard martial art to pick up, you feel, or
Which
Kenpo?
tempo?
Yeah.
Uh, I wouldn't call it hard. Uh, I would call it structured in
Yeah.
that. Um, we're picky about stances being right, form being right. Where other styles might not be so stringent. But I would tell you that, but hard styles, Japanese and Korean styles, some of them would be even more rigid and stringent. So I'd say that Kempo. I always tell my students Kempo is kind of like the medium style, because we're not super formal, but we're pretty formal. I want you to call me sensei, but
Yeah.
not out of class, type of
Not
thing.
John Kreese kind of style. Yeah.
Exactly.
So going back
I
to
wouldn't I wouldn't ask you to call me grandmaster or anything like that. But go ahead, you're about to
yeah, I
ask
was
me
I was
something.
gonna say I was like, well, how do I intro you? Just say Grandmaster Darryl Vidal, but I mean Grandmaster is a pretty cool title. I know it's like, it's
Yeah, rappers use it, so it must be cool.
oh, well, I was gonna say Yoda uses it, but yeah, that works too. Um, so going back to Karate Kid, when you got the role, one of the questions from one of your fans was in regards to how hard was it to fake your loss to Johnny Lawrence, because you got this guy who's this esteemed actual martial artist in the martial arts movie, and then you got to now lose to someone who I
Yeah.
assume William Zabka doesn't know martial arts to your level.
Well, I mean, not at the time. I
Yeah,
don't know how much she's been training since.
yeah,
Because you hear, oh yeah, he's got a black belt, but
yeah,
back then he didn't. He had some wrestling experience, but he's a pretty athletic guy. During the summer of '83, uh, after this, they asked me to join the group.
yeah.
Uh, I trained with the Cobra Kai's, because I don't know if you heard this story, but
No,
uh, Pat Johnson trained Ralph and Pat Morita together in a certain method, this kind of kung fu-ish, traditional style, and
okay,
then he would train the Cobra Kai separately as a group, to build their bond. And he taught him a very structured, Tang Soo Do style.
yeah,
And I would train with them, which it's not a big departure from Kempo, so I could go right in and do that. But to answer your question about taking the loss, obviously, when you're in Hollywood, you do what the director says. So I
right,
knew right at the beginning that whatever I did, um, I would probably be a loser in the end. And everything is fully choreographed. I mean, there was nothing that was in my fights anyway that wasn't already pre-planned.
Yeah.
So I will tell you that there was a point that I score in the choreographed fight scene, but it got cut out. So
Really?
yeah, so it was a 3-1 loss, but when it got to the big screen, it was a 3-0 loss.
What the heck? I would have liked
Yeah.
to have seen that at least, where you
It's
score a
funny
point.
because, yeah, we had it all choreographed, but then when you go back, the director posted rehearsal videos on
Yeah.
YouTube. I don't know if you've looked at it, but you can actually see the whole movie
Yeah.
as a rehearsal on, a video camera, and that point isn't in there either, which baffled me when I first saw it. It's like, where's that point? He
That's
must
kind of
have cut it
weird.
out of there. Yeah, but it is
It
what it
is
is.
what it
At
is.
least
Yeah.
yeah.
I got a bit of a background info on from Sean on what it was like sometimes shooting, and it seems weird. What was your point? How did you win? How did you get that point
Oh,
when you
how did
did
that
shoot it?
point?
Yeah, was it a strike to the stomach or
Yeah, I would have to try to replay the whole choreograph, but I can't remember it. So, uh, yeah, I
maybe
couldn't
a
tell
crane
you.
kick to the face? You know.
I'm sure
Um,
it wasn't that.
no, probably not. Um,
That's pretty funny.
regarding you, so you were actually. I wish everyone would know this, and maybe now they can. Is that you were actually the first person to do the crane kick ever on the show, on in the movie.
Yeah, yeah.
So
There's a lot of backstory to the crane kick, so
love
if
to
you
hear
don't
it.
mind, I'll just tell it to you.
Yeah.
So, the writer Robert Mark Kamen, who also, I don't know if you know this, wrote and produced movies like Transporter and Taken.
Yeah.
So he's really sharp.
Right.
But going back to this, he always had the concept of this crane technique as part of the movie,
Right.
and it had also to do with the idea that Daniel gets his leg injured,
Right.
and so has to stand on one leg. So that was kind of like that whole why to stand on one leg, because as a karate practitioner, we do have things like a cat stance or a stance where you're back, but standing on one leg is not conducive to being mobile when fighting, right?
Yeah.
Uh, then also the arms splayed out to the side. So when so when I started going to the rehearsals, I didn't know about this. I just thought, okay, they're going to use me for my karate. I'm going to get to show off.
Yeah.
And then at a certain point, the writer's there, the director's there, and they start telling me about they want to use me for this crane kick.
Hmm.
And then Robert Mark came in, describes it to me. He says, okay, we have the crane technique. You're going to be standing on top of this log, a post, and you're going to be, standing with one leg, and you're going to have your arms out to the
Yeah.
side. My reaction is, well, why would you ever do that? It's not a fighting thing. I've never seen that.
Yeah.
So, but I only mouth off so long. They told me, well, that's what it is, and I said, okay, I'll do it.
Right.
The kick itself is not a unique. In karate, sometimes it's called a double jump kick or a pump kick,
Right.
or a fake kick. So you're actually pumping one leg and then jumping off the other leg. So it's almost like a fake.
Yeah.
But you would do that from a stance, and obviously you wouldn't have your arms out to the sides, because that doesn't really make any sense. So when they told me what they wanted, I said, okay, so they want me to practice it. So stand on one leg, put the arms out to the side, okay, and then do the kick.
Yeah.
And then they said, okay, well, you got to do something with your arms. You can't just stand there like that. I said, okay, fine. So if you watch it, the sequence, I have my hands out in front like this, which is actually a Wing Chun cover.
Yes.
And then I drop down. I'm in a cat stance, which is a Kempo stance.
Mhm.
Drop down low, and then bring the arms out high and wide to like a crane. Come up and then do the double jump kick.
Yeah.
And one of the things when it was initially described to me was you would be standing on one leg, the other leg is injured, So you're going to jump, kick with that leg, and then land on that leg. And so I'm like, okay. So I try it. It really doesn't work. I really can't do it. I said, I don't think we can make it work. I said, this is what we can do. We do the double jump kick, and they were like, okay. So if you watch the sequence, you see they come up, the leg comes up, I do the kick, land on the opposite leg, but very quickly just slide back into the other stance to cover with the left leg so that I can easily be right back into the crane stance. So that's the way that evolved. And then Ralph also, if you watch him do the crane kick, obviously he has to land on that leg too, and so he plays it off, it injured the leg, and then jumped back over. So, yeah, that's how it all came out. And so, yeah, I guess I'm the first one to do the crane kick.
You were the first one in the world. You were the real Mr. Miyagi. Did you do any other scenes where you, I wouldn't want to say stunt double, but where you took his place?
No, it's basically the crane kick,
Yeah.
and then my scenes in the tournament. That's all I did. Actually, I think it might have come out in another interview. Excuse me, I'm gonna drink water. I am in the background of a beach scene of one of the early beach scenes when they're playing soccer.
Really?
But I'm just standing in the background.
Oh, so you're there. So maybe there could be a
Because
theory with you where you were the true villain behind Karate Kid, where you've been watching Daniel the whole time.
Okay, so here's the backstory of that, and
Yeah.
this is somewhat known. People I've talked to it, I mentioned it in other interviews, but the director wanted a long shot that he can come in and then focus out and then come into where they're playing soccer.
Yeah.
So it's the scene where they're first coming in on the playing soccer, and they're running toward the girls. So the long shot, if you look, and you can see it now on Netflix or on a good DVD, but you couldn't see it on television very well. But on the long shot, there's a guy in yellow sweats without a shirt on, holding a football and throwing it to nobody, because I'm just kind of like that. I mean, I did it. Every time they do it, I'm back here like this. So you'll see it back there, but I'm not throwing the football to anybody.
That's pretty cool. I got to look out for that when I rewatch it.
Yeah. It's an early scene. You can watch the first 15 minutes of the movie and see it. So.
Yeah, no, I gotta check that out now. You got yellow shorts on, no shirt. All right.
They're long sweatpants. Actually.
Long sweatpants. Okay. Did the directors or writers give you any name of your school, of your karate school in the movie?
Yes, and any good fan should know that it's Locust Valley Kempo or Locust Valley Karate Club.
Cool. Well, maybe we'll see that someday in Cobra Kai.
Well, the logo on the back of my gi is a locust.
Yeah.
And then the announcer announces it before my fight with Johnny, Darryl Vidal from Locust Valley. And if you watch the montage, there's another kid that's got the locust. Also, I just noticed it the other day.
Oh, cool.
I said, "Oh, look, I have a teammate."
Did it hurt physically when Johnny scores the second point on you? Someone said it looked really painful.
Oh no, that's just my acting.
That's just your acting. It's just good acting.
Yeah, because when you're a martial artist, a young martial artist watching Bruce Lee movies,
yeah,
you do fake fight scenes. I mean, that was my thing, was to do fight scenes, and with my buddies, and we would actually film them on 8mm and make these fight scenes. So pretty adept at the whole stunt thing.
Yeah.
And besides that, as the way that we fight and spar, it's semi-contact. We're not really, especially to the body. I'm gonna try to nail you. So, I wouldn't have been injured regardless. But Billy was pretty good.
Yeah.
And actually, when we started working together and choreographing our fight, I kind of told him, I said, "Hey, you've wrestled, you can take some shots. I'm gonna make contact, light contact." And then so we both were making some contact. But I didn't get hurt or anything like that.
This
Even
one
though
is
I spent a lot of time
on the floor there. Well, I saw those flips, man. Those were pretty cool. Given that both you and Fumio Demura, and I hope I'm saying that right, doubled as Mr. Miyagi in the films, have you ever had the opportunity to train with Sensei Demura? If so, what was the experience like?
So I haven't had to gotten the opportunity to train with him, but I've been with him several times. He's getting up in age these days, so a lot of times I'll be at these martial arts events.
Hmm.
One that we go to every year is called Dragon Fest, and then in these Hall of Fame events that I get invited to, and I'll see him there. So I've been around him a lot, and it's and just as background, even back in the 70s or in the 80s when this all started,
Hmm.
I met him on stage in the what the rehearsals, and I knew of him already. He was already a legend to me.
Hmm.
So meeting him back then was amazing. But he didn't train with us. So I outside of the few meetings I had with him, uh, I wasn't around when they did the skeleton fight or, some of the other fight scenes that he did. But yeah, very honored to meet that gentleman. And if you look on the internet, there's a lot of pictures of me with him because uh, anytime I'm with him, I get pictures.
Because you go to all the cons and stuff, right? Signing autographs for your
uh,
fans and all that.
not so much cons, but just they're usually martial arts events.
Yeah.
Like I said, Dragon Fest. I haven't really done any cons. I had the first thing I did, which was like well that it was last year at the Hollywood Autograph Show.
Hmm.
So they had a Karate Kid reunion. So almost everybody but Ralph was there. That's kind of like the first exposure I really had to a lot of this stuff. Going back all these years, I have not really considered myself, to have many fans, so only now that with social media and everything else have people kind of, obviously with Cobra Kai, there's the
Yeah.
resurgence of Karate Kid. So it's really only the last couple of years that I feel like people know who I am,
Well,
even
well,
though I
well
did the crane
deserved.
kick.
Yeah, exactly. Well deserved. Now, hopefully, they'll know more about you. Do you have any? Would you like to plug your Instagram? I follow you on there. Where can people
Oh,
find you?
okay. So on Facebook, it is Vidal Kempo,
Hmm.
Vidal Kempo. On Twitter and Instagram, I just started using. So on Twitter, I am at Kempo Vidal. So it's backward. But I think you could just type my name and find me.
Yeah.
And then on Instagram, uh, I have this weird name. It's called Rock Breaker Boy. And I did that many years ago. My friends were telling me, or my family was saying, I use Instagram. I'm like, I don't get Instagram. So I created one and I didn't know what to name myself. One of the things I do in karate that I'll do at a demo is break rocks. So I said, a rock breaker boy. And then I hadn't used it. I think if you go on my Instagram, you'll see that there's a bunch of 5, 6 year old photos. And then more recently, I've started to
Yeah, more
use it.
recently I see you're more active on there, and you're pretty
Yeah,
active on
definitely.
Twitter. So you guys can go follow the original crane kick master. Someone asked a theory that, I mean, you can just roll with this one. What do you think Daryl would have done if he had won the tournament? What was Daryl's story before he saw Johnny? Before we saw him in the tournament?
So two questions there. Okay,
Yeah.
if he would have won, obviously he would have taken that position and then come back next year. So when Daniel got back to Okinawa, he would
Hmm.
have had to fight me, and I could tell you that wouldn't have been pretty.
Well, then maybe you would have. Well, no, if you won, then maybe. I guess Barnes wouldn't be coming for you then, because
Yeah,
well,
Barnes.
that's maybe,
Yeah,
maybe.
maybe. I mean, if I'd have beat Ralph in the year following, then
Yeah.
the following year, but then by then I'd be like 20 years old, So
Either way, you would have beaten Cobra Kai, and so they might have had a bone to pick with you. Maybe that would have been cool to see you and Sean together, you and Mike Barnes.
yeah,
That'd
yeah.
be cool.
Going back and watching Karate Kid 3,
Yeah.
and then knowing Sean as well as I do today,
Yeah.
it would be good. Yeah.
Did you?
But you said that what was the backstory was another question
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
Daryl.
Yeah. Yeah. What's
And
Daryl's backstory? I also asked this about
yeah,
Sean. He's like, I don't really know. There's nothing really I was given, but so
yeah.
maybe you've gotten some
I,
for us.
I haven't. I wasn't given anything, but what I would say is. he's this hotshot tournament guy that comes in and does all these flashy moves, but doesn't win all the time.
So you have this big background in martial arts. What are some of your favorite martial arts movies? I know for me, like I like Bloodsport and stuff like that, but I'd love to hear some of yours.
Sure, there's not that many.
Uh-huh.
Enter the Dragon, obviously.
Yeah.
Bruce Lee. I'm not a big Jackie Chan fan. I mean, to me, Jackie Chan, as great of a martial artist as he is,
Hmm.
he's more his stuff is more comedic and acrobatic.
Hmm.
So it's like, wow, that's amazing that he can do that, and he's got great moves, but not such a big fan.
Not
I
your
did
thing.
see one,
Okay.
there is one movie where he does the crane, so it was like, oh my God.
Which movie is that? Was it in the reboot?
Uh, No, oh no, it wasn't in the reboot, the Kung Fu Kid. It's I can't even remember what the name of it is, but he's on top of a train, and the train is going down, and he does the crane kick. I'm going, oh, Jackie Chan just did my crane kick.
What the
Come on.
heck? I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
But to answer your question, let's see. I really liked Steven Seagal's first movie, Above the Law.
Yes.
Uh, yeah, I
Yes.
thought that was well done, but then, as he went on and on, not so much.
No.
I think like the first three I thought were really good in terms of martial arts. And the funny thing is it's Aikido,
Hmm.
which a lot of people aren't familiar with, but he does it well, or
Hmm.
he did it well in the movies. So
Yeah.
let's see. I've watched all the Ip Mans. I think they're great.
Hmm.
But Wing Chun is Wing Chun, so uh, it doesn't have. This is not a down on Wing Chun, because it's one of my roots. But I don't think it holds up, in the whole MMA um, light.
Right.
So yeah, so that's that. But I do like watching it um, because I like Wing Chun. And then let me see what else. I like Jason Statham, but I can't say there's one movie in particular that I like.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't know. That's about it. I can't think of anything else. But you mentioned Bloodsport. I was not a big Van Damme fan, but his skills are definitely top notch.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess his personality got a little bit arrogant there in the 80s. I felt like looking back at some interviews and stuff. But yeah, I think he's a cool guy. Alex Moore asks, Daryl, what aspects of the Cobra Kai philosophy do you agree with involving combat and life? Do you learn more about Cobra Kai um, or Miyagi Do in your personal approach to martial arts?
That's a good question, and I think the answer is, like I said about Kempo, it's being the medium. I think it's a little bit of both. I've studied a lot of Chinese philosophy, Yi Jing and Taoism, not to a depth where that's my religion. I'm still,
Hmm.
a regular Christian person, but uh, I have written some philosophical stuff. So the stuff about balance in life, as well as in training, I think is super important.
Yeah.
Um, and so, in fact, when I sign autographs, one of the things that I like to write is "Remember balance,"
Yes.
because I can hear Miyagi saying it, and it's such an important part. And if there's a picture of me doing a crane kick, you know, it's very appropriate. And then, but on the Cobra Kai side, um, I am I kind of approach my training kind of as a hard nose. When we spar, uh, and I'm training with my students, I tell them that you're gonna get hit.
Hmm.
I don't want to see your tears. If somebody gets hurt, I'll tell them to suck it up.
Yeah.
And we always do our push-ups on our knuckles, and when I train with my black belts, we punch each other in the stomach as hard as we can. And so I think there is a good, there is a no mercy aspect to the way that we train, but we don't say, you know, uh, we don't say, what is the saying? Strike first, strike hard, no mercy. We don't
We're not
we don't
trained to be.
chant that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good. You're not a crease. That's cool. So you're
Yeah.
kind of like both. You're just kind of
Yeah,
Use
yeah. I mean,
both
I think
parts.
you need both. I think you need both because, there's this whole thing about, well, martial arts is truly only defensive, and that's true to the point that the minute you feel threatened, you better take some action. So
Right.
it doesn't mean that you're always going to take the first shot in your face before you do something. So, my training, especially in Filipino stick fighting, is, I see you wink your eye and you're standing close enough to me, I'm going in.
Yeah.
So,
Have you ever been? Well, you probably have been whacked in the head accidentally when you're
oh
training.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. Everything from boxing where, and I'll tell you that the reason I stopped boxing was because my nose was just messed up,
Hmm.
always having bruises right here on the side of your eye socket.
Hmm.
Uh, because even if you're a good boxer, you're still going to be getting hit.
Yeah.
And then in karate, like I said, we don't beat each other up, but we spar pretty hard. If I'm sparring with my black belts, I get my bell rung every now and then, or
Yeah.
take a shot to the ribs or something like that. So you got to learn to suck that up. It's
Yeah.
part of the training.
CKND asks, what was it like working with Mr. Miyagi, Pat?
Pat, well, for me at the time, Pat was Arnold from Happy Days, right?
Yeah.
And that was Pat. He was just a genuinely funny guy, telling jokes.
Hmm.
A lot of the stuff that he would say would not be PC these
Yeah.
days.
Yeah. Of course. Well, yeah. Yeah.
He was on the edge. He would make racial slurs, sexist jokes. Uh, so it was a ball hanging out with him when I could. So we would be together in rehearsals. We spent time together at the beach and then at the tournament. So yeah, the great guy. He always was very nice to me.
Hmm.
So just a genuinely nice guy. I think since we were kind of like the only Asians,
Yeah.
we had that thing going on too. So yeah, great to work with them. I miss them greatly.
I'm sure he'd love the show now on Cobra Kai. I think he'd love
Yeah.
what they're doing. Um,
Well, I told those guys that I look like him now. So
yeah, I mean, hey, they used a guy for him from a back shot for a back shot in I
yeah,
think season 2 was it?
the
So
fishing guy, right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and when you like made his garden and everything like that.
Uh,
Mr. Lang asks, what was your favorite part of working with the cast of the film?
During those weeks that we were rehearsing all the karate with the Cobra Kai, that was a kind of a golden memory for me about because after rehearsals we would go hang out, uh, maybe go to the cafeteria there at the studios, or during the beach we were there for a week or two, and we just Billy Zabka, great guy.
Hmm.
Anytime I see him, he's always very very friendly, as if we've been buddies all this time. Even though there's always a 5-10 year break between being
Oh man,
together.
yeah,
Ron and I are close. He lives near me. We do things together.
no way.
So yeah, Ron Thomas.
Oh,
Oh, and
cool.
by the way, you mentioned that I was the only karate guy, but Ron was a black belt in jujitsu at the time.
I did not know
So
that.
yeah, so he and I, you can tell by watching him too in the scenes that he's got training. But it was funny. He's got a story, and you probably should interview him so he can tell you this
I'd love
story.
to.
But
Yeah, I'd love to reach out to him and
oh,
yeah,
if you want to, we can hook up later. I'll give you. I'll connect you guys
yeah,
because
that'd be great.
he likes to do these things too.
Cool.
Uh, and but like I said, he was a black belt in jiu-jitsu.
Hmm.
He went on to continue to be, world champion in their competitions, and had his own dojo. And so we had a connection there because we would kind of hang off to the side, especially during the tournament filming, and chuckle at the people
Yeah,
who were doing karate who didn't clearly don't know karate.
yeah.
So
I didn't know he did jujitsu. I know he's a black belt now. I didn't know he was doing it back then. That's pretty sweet.
yeah, he was black belt back then in jiu-jitsu, and it's not Brazilian jiu-jitsu. It's Japanese, where it's not all rolling on the ground. It's It's more like karate, more like the Jew in jujitsu also comes from judo. So there's that throwing and tumbling type of activity that they also incorporate.
Hmm. Victor Bryce says this is the first question he has is, how do you think things would have played out if the referee declared the crane kick an illegal move?
Okay, I'll tell you what, the whole crane kick is illegal is just it's just too much. I mean, it's literally on every Cobra Kai page,
Yeah, I've seen it.
Karate Kid page, and so I usually chime in and say, this. Well, I don't get too snotty about it, but I always try to say the kick was legal
Yeah.
because there's face kicks throughout the tournament, and so in a real tournament, we would have called that as excessive contact because the ruling is if you draw blood, show bruising immediately, redness, or snap his head back, that would be a warning. And if it was excessive, then you could get disqualified right off the bat.
Mm.
So that might have been the call, but since there was so much heavy contact in the whole tournament,
Yeah.
I mean, you got guys rolling on the ground, hurt all over the place. Daniel looked like he wasn't going to survive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for to call it illegal or disqualification for the championship point, would have been absurd. So yeah, I don't go with that. It was definitely legal. There was face contact throughout the tournament, both with hands and with feet.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I see that question everywhere, and everyone's just throwing it around.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's nice to get your opinion on it from an actual martial artist.
Yeah, but it doesn't put it to bed. They'll continue.
Oh, they'll keep going, of course. Yeah.
I'll put in my thing, and then they'll say, some people will even say, "Here's the guy that invented the crane kick," and then they still will go on, but this and but that. So you know what? It's great. I think it's stimulating, and people enjoy it. So
It gets them into Karate Kid, which is good.
absolutely, yeah.
The original says, "What lineage of Wing Chun did you learn from?"
Okay, so this is a complicated question, but um, the first guy that I trained with a gentleman named Jim DeMille,
Mm-hmm.
who was Bruce Lee and Ip Man lineage,
Mm-hmm.
and then more recently, I've been doing some things with a guy who trains under Ip. What's the guy's name? Ip. I don't know. It's another Ip guy.
Yeah.
I think there's like two main lineages, and I couldn't, my Wing Chun is, some of the Chinese names, Chi Sao here and there.
Yeah.
I have a Wing Chun dummy. I know some of the exercises and pattern drills. So I can Wing Chun you, but I can't. I couldn't tell you that Ip Man would do it this way and Ip Ching, that's the other guy, would do it this way. I don't know those differences.
So you obviously have students now. If there are people watching that are in your area and they want to train with you, where do they go? Just contact you on your social media?
Well, yeah, and during these crazy COVID times.
Oh, yeah. What am I saying? Yeah, I guess you're not doing that right now.
Well, no, we are. We're doing it all online. We're doing Zoom classes. So
Okay.
my structured Zoom classes, and anybody can sign up now. So here you go. Anybody can sign up.
Yeah.
But we just started a new session. I'm doing an 8-week session through the Parks and Rec here in Murrieta.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go to murrietaca.org, you'll see my classes are called virtual karate, and I have beginners, juniors, and belt levels. You'll see, but you can't get into them now. It's a little bit late.
Yeah.
But you can definitely sign up for my next session. But I also am just starting to do some privates. So if you contact me on, like I said, on Facebook is probably the where I'm most, which is Vidal Kempo. Mm-hmm. You can contact me if I can work you into the schedule. I still work a regular job. I teach karate Tuesday and Thursday night, and then I have a couple of stick fighting private lessons. So if I can fit you in, I'll fit you in.
Yeah, it'd be cool, man. You guys can learn from the the actual guy who started the crane kick. Um,
Who performed it, you know?
yeah, performed it well. The way you did it too. I mean, the directors didn't know really how to do the movements that you did, and you kind of really
Right.
made it perfect. Yeah, otherwise it would have
Right.
looked funny, especially
Yeah.
jumping back on the hurt leg. Um, you clearly were the most skilled martial artist in the All Valley tournament. What styles of martial arts do you practice? And well, we already got through that question, so
Yep.
people are asking
Yep.
questions that they're probably just hopping into the stream. One thing that I think they can do with you coming back to Cobra Kai would be pretty fun, is having you on the board of directors for the All
I
Valley.
saw that.
Yeah, you saw that
Uh,
question too.
I was after you posted this, I was on YouTube, and I actually went back through and answered some of the questions.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So, but that one was funny because for me the obvious thing would be to I mean, I'm still teaching and training, so
Yeah,
it would be obvious that I'm still doing Locust Valley
yeah,
and bringing students to the tournament, and so I could see that. I could see, uh, you know, I could see playing remakes of Pat, you know, because
yeah,
I look like him. But you know, I get a lot of people that say, "Hey, you should do this. It would be nice if they did this." But for me, I see them moving the stories forward. You know, it's really about these characters.
yeah.
Obviously, Johnny and Ralph. Uh, you know, a couple of, and they did the OG segment right
Hmm.
last in season 2.
Hmm.
So you know, bringing back me, I can see it, but I can also not see it. Uh, just logically, I think uh, Mike Barnes should be the first, you know, next to come back
Yeah,
because you know, because he was all of Karate Kid 3 was about him.
yeah.
And then obviously Yuji Chosen
Hmm.
should run in. I don't know if he appears in season 3. I'm thinking that he probably does.
I hope so. I mean, well, I know that Daniel apparently is supposed to go back to Okinawa.
Right, so it would make sense.
It would make
Now,
sense. Yeah.
I bump into Tamlin every now and then, um, but I don't know if she is in season 3 either. But it would make sense.
That would make it complicated for Daniel's marriage. um,
Well, so will Allie, right? And all the
yeah,
rumors seem to point to that she is in it.
yeah.
So
Well, a lot of the fan theories out there, a lot of the comments I read, they're just like, yeah, Johnny's gonna have a chance with Daniel's wife, and I was, oh man, that's gonna be rough, dude. But I would love to see you come back, of course, at least in some sort of form, something. And as for Mike Barnes coming back, I want to see him scare the living hell out of Johnny and Daniel because I think he does a really good job of both of that.
he does. And you know what? It's funny is when I want to tease Sean, is I say some of his lines because some of them are purely racist.
Yeah, there were a few there that in the end that wouldn't fly today. That's for sure.
Oh
But
no, they sure wouldn't, and he lays them on hard.
oh yeah,
So
oh yeah,
I kind of tease him with those.
yeah. No, there's a lot of things that don't fly now anymore. But I mean,
Yeah.
they're still doing a really good job with the show of keeping the authenticity of the '80s, which I like.
Yeah.
You've been a part as we wrap up the interview. You've been a part of some other projects too, besides just Karate Kid. Would you like to talk about those?
But yeah, not too much.
Not too much.
Let's
Okay.
see. Yeah, well, I can tell you. Okay, so you mentioned. Let's see. Okay, here's one that I can talk about. Is there's a movie about the director, John Avildsen,
Hmm.
done by a great filmmaker named Derek Wayne Johnson,
Hmm.
and I don't know if he's listening. Hey, Derek, but he did a documentary called King of the Underdogs, and it's all about John Avildsen. So he talks a lot about Rocky and the Karate Kid, and I have an appearance in there. And then if you're looking or bugging around on YouTube, you'll see a project called Bullets, Blades, and Blood,
Hmm.
which is still in production. So it's been sitting for a while. the producer is in a lot of projects, and so this one hasn't caught up with it yet. So I don't know when that might be out. And I think that's all. I think that's all I'm working on.
Yeah, I was looking at your IMDb, and I'm like, oh, he's been in some other stuff. So
Yeah, not a lot.
not a
You think
lot, but I
about
mean, yeah.
34 years of not being any of that kind of stuff. So
Well, man, you're so accomplished outside of the film world, so that speaks for itself. I want
thank
to
you.
thank you for your time, for being on the show. I'd love to connect with you after this, maybe do another interview, several months from now, get your thoughts on Cobra Kai season 3 whenever it comes out, and
Yep.
just have fun, hang out, and
Okay.
yeah, thanks, man, for your time so
Well,
much.
I just got to say a couple things. One is that Karate Kid and Cobra Kai fans are amazing. They're always nice,
Yeah,
very respectful, and if you want something, want me to do video or a message or an autograph or something, just contact me, and I'll do what I can.
drop your social media once again,
Okay, so
just
on
for we end here.
Facebook, Vidal Kempo. On Twitter, it's also Vidal Kempo, but it's at Kempo Vidal.
Mhm.
And then on Instagram, it's Rock Breaker Boy, all one word.
Awesome. There we go. All right, man. Thank you so much.
All right.
All right.
Cobra Kai Theory, sir. Thank you
Thank
very
you, sir.
much.
I'll catch you
Yes.
later.
Okay,
All
thanks.
right.